I'm talking again to Lambourne nutritionist Sam Silvester. Hi, Sam. Thanks for joining me again.
Hi, Penny.
I thought it'd be a good thing to talk about today was the fact that a lot of people seem worried that they're putting weight on during time. Have you?
Yeah, I think it seems to be split into two different groups. Those who are taking the time to cook from scratch, to walk further, to find online exercise, and to use the time to really assess their health. And other people who maybe are quite frightened of the situation or, having to self-isolate, using food or alcohol as a comfort and, and also being bored and over
Yeah.
snacking. So there are these sort of two groups that I think are happening in these new situations.
I can see that both sides, and I can definitely see the snacking, the comfort eating. It's a stressful time, and we're kind of so focused on food because we're worried that there's a shortage of it that some people might actually end up with it, more of it in their kitchen than they normally have.
Yeah, I think that's a real danger here. And it's great if you've got some excess rice and you've got excess frozen vegetables, you can make all sorts of healthy meals. But if you've stocked up on cakes and biscuits, that's going to be a real danger. And what I would recommend is put it out of sight. If
Okay.
you've got your biscuits or your cakes or your crisps in a cupboard that you go to every day, they are just going to be in your subconscious. And we are designed to eat high sugar, high fat foods, and for times of famine. But we don't have times of famine. We have times of, usually overabundance. So I would kind of put those in your, even if you have to put them in the shed or your garage, just put them somewhere out of sight.
And what if you live in a family situation where one person is concerned about what they're eating, but everybody else is not and love having all that stuff around? If you're that one person, how
I,
do you?
I think the whole family nobody needs to have an excess of sugar, no matter what somebody's weight situation. It's become the norm that high sugar is part of our life. And I think whole families could benefit from ditching the sugar, really. Loading up the fruit bowl and making some real nice, colourful fruits in there, not just a tired apple and a banana. And making the rule that if you want a snack, your go-to is from the fruit bowl, and slowly start phasing out some of the really unhealthy sugars, and perhaps making your own cakes that have less sugar or more fruit in them. I've got a great recipe for sweet potato brownies, and they're just as fudgy and gooey and chocolatey as normal
Oh,
brownies, and you would be hard pressed to know the difference.
oh, I'd
Um,
love to try that.
yeah, the recipe's on my website.
Okay. So how else are you helping people at this time with their weight?
I think one of the biggest problems is snacking and grazing, and that's something that featured high amongst my clients who are trying to lose weight even before this. Um, you know, when I was a child, we didn't snack and graze because the food manufacturers at that point weren't trying to sell us all their on-the-go snacks.
Mm,
And they're all very appealing and they're marketed in a way that we need a snack.
mm,
Whereas if you're eating 3 balanced meals a day, and there's not huge gaps in between, you don't need to snack. And as I've just said, if you really, are feeling a bit peckish, a piece of fruit. But I think snacking and grazing is one of the biggest things,
yeah,
and particularly
and
the
I feel
type of things that people are snacking. Sorry, that people are
I was
snacking and
going to say,
grazing on.
I'm guilty of not snacking or grazing because I'm hungry, but it's usually because I'm bored or I'm stressed or,
Yeah. I think it's a really good idea to start identifying those behaviors. So becoming aware of them is the first step. and then starting to make a list of distractions. So, do you need to go and sort out a load of clothes that need to go into the charity? Do you actually just need to remove yourself into a different room and listen to some calming music? Do you actually need to just stand outside the back door and breathe in some fresh air? And it's just changing that mindset. It might also be that you start doing something with your hands, like a jigsaw puzzle or knitting.
Mm,
Um, but I think identifying those behaviors and finding why your, where your boredom levels are can be really helpful.
mm. Yeah, because habits are so easily formed, aren't they? And
They are,
kind of hard to break.
yeah, definitely.
And
Um,
what other tips do you give to people?
Looking at portions, most people are eating more than they actually need. And I think everything has become supersized, size of chocolate bars, size of burgers, size of plates, size of wine glasses.
Yeah.
Um, we're just eating a lot more than we need. And I think we've lost sense of our hunger levels. People will often eat because it's a mealtime rather than, they're not hungry, they had a snack and it's mealtime, there's a meal put in front of them, they'll eat it. So I want people to kind of really start listening to their hunger and not being afraid of getting hungry.
Mm,
We don't ever really have a situation where we have to get hungry. And it's quite good for our cells in our gut to have a rest in between meals. We also extract more nutrition from our food when we are hungry.
mm,
Um, but you don't want to be so starving that you just hoover up everything and a lot of it very quickly.
mm.
So as well as eating mindfully and thinking about your portions, um, really look at your food, smell it, and just take your time over that food so you can start to assess when you're getting full. And if you're not hungry, then just wait for another hour or two so that you are and start to get into that habit.
Okay. I suppose drinking water is a good way if you want that kind of sensation of consuming something, and probably most of us don't drink enough water. Even if it had some lemon juice or some cucumber in it or something for a little bit of flavour, you could do that until you are hungry enough to eat, perhaps.
Yes, that's a great idea. Putting all sorts of things in water. I like putting mint in there. Even, just a cup of hot water
Mm,
it is fine, if you're trying to cut down your caffeine. But you can put sort of pomegranate seeds and berries and all sorts in your water to make it more interesting. And like you say, some people mistake thirst for hunger and end up eating when really all they need is a drink.
yes. Yes, I think we're all guilty of not thinking tap water, especially tap water, is absolutely fine for us, and we should drink more of it.
Yeah, I think
We
I was just going to say, because of the caffeine culture and the coffee culture that we live in, I'm seeing people just drinking so much coffee. And there's obviously, if people are having lots of lattes or putting sugar in, there's all sorts of added calories there. But
Mm,
also, it's quite often that with a cup of tea or a cup of coffee, you expect through the habits that you were just mentioning to have a biscuit or something.
yeah.
So, for some people, just cutting right back on their coffee is going to be great for their waistline as well. It does spike your blood sugar, so it raises your adrenaline levels, which can release sugar, and that can set off another whole cascade of excess fat.
Okay. So we've talked about portion size. We've talked about waiting till you're hungry. I think you've talked about writing a diary. Is that part of the process that helps?
Yeah, I think writing everything down and being accountable is really useful, especially if you can share that with someone. Now, the weight loss clients that I see and the coaching that I do, which is not diets. It's a way of learning to eat healthily forever. All my clients will keep a food diary, and they write down, they don't just put roast dinner, they'll put down how many potatoes, whether they had stuffing, whether they had Yorkshire pudding. And the act of writing that all down, you can really start to analyze just how, some people are really shocked just how much they are eating.
Well, I can imagine if you reach for a chocolate bar and you think, actually, I've got to write this down, and Sam's going to read this.
Yes.
It makes you think twice.
Exactly. Yeah. And some people, sometimes on their food diary, people have put, oh, it was a bad day, and they leave it blank. And I say, no, it's not about judging. It's write that down, because even if it's a really bad day and you've eaten a whole packet of biscuits, the knowing that you've got to write that down will really make you think. And it's not just what you've had, it's why. So trying to analyze, why did I have those biscuits? Was I feeling really sad?
Mm.
Was my blood sugar really low because I hadn't eaten the right meal earlier on?
Okay.
Um, you know, there's just so many reasons why, emotional reasons why people eat. Um, you know, as I said, feeling sad, feeling happy. Sometimes people eat, but so not just, oh yeah, I've eaten that, I shouldn't have done, but really analysing why, and
Okay.
that can be really helpful.
So, can your blood sugar level kind of affect the emotions that are driving you to snack? Is that what it's?
Yes,
Yeah.
definitely. I get a
Okay.
lot of people say to me, um, I'm very stressed at work, and I eat. And I say, is there a particular time when you feel this stress? And they'll say, yeah, mid-afternoon. And mid-afternoon is a typical time. If people have had the wrong type of lunch, something that's high in refined carbs, maybe a white bread sandwich, or, crisps and chocolate bar, then they get this blood sugar drop. And when your blood sugar drops, you can feel quite low in mood, low in energy, and craving food. So that's when people are more likely to eat a whole packet of biscuits.
Oh, okay. So it's almost like the lower nutritional food. It's almost it kind of feeds itself. By eating it, it causes you to feel you need more of it because you're looking
Exactly.
at
Yeah.
sugar, high fat,
Yeah. And
comfort.
you know, certain overbaked crisps, that come in a tub, perhaps shouldn't mention their name, but you can eat a whole tub of those and not feel full because they're just so refined. Whereas, if you were to eat two whole potatoes, with a little bit of butter on, you'd feel really nice and full. So it's the way that food is presented sometimes, and the way that can really spike our blood sugar. So, and then that
And
creates
flavor.
stress, and that creates wanting to eat more, and we get in this whole
Yeah,
vicious cycle of feeling tired and stressed, which can be nothing more than blood sugar balance.
blimey. I had no idea. That's really interesting. But
Yeah.
obviously, in this time, there is real stressful triggers out there that you might have the most perfect diet and still, be feeling stressed at this time.
Yes.
Um, so it's the mindfulness, it's a bit, I feel it's a bit like Christmas. It's like all rules are off. It doesn't matter. We can all just indulge because we're dealing with this horrible situation. But I know when we come out of it, hopefully in 1 or 2 months' time, we don't want to be like in that January feeling, oh my gosh, I've put on masses of pounds and now I've got to lose all this weight and it's summer and we've got
Yeah.
to kind of keep in control, I guess, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, and that sugar hit, or that high fat, hit, they're very short-lived. And after you've had them, the stress and the fear is still there. So it's much better to address how you're feeling. What, if you can get out for a really long walk in fresh air, in nature, in daylight, we're so lucky where we live.
Yeah.
That's going to really affect your stress levels and make you feel, be able to assess things, much better. And if you can't get out, you can, there's, some line dancing you can learn on YouTube, and you can have a laugh at that. There's some peaceful yoga, There's lots of people around here also doing people in the community doing online yoga. So there's lots of ways that you can try and manage this stress and this fear by not just using the food.
And so how can people contact you now to get support at this
Yes,
time?
I'm doing remote consultations. They can just go to my website, whatseatingyou.co.uk. There is some discounts available if people are out of work and struggling, and I've also just set up a subscription plan. So for £10 a month, you can just subscribe to weekly emails where you get recipes. You can have your food diary monitored. You'll get the latest scientifically backed research on what's happening in the health world at the moment, and lots of lifestyle tips.
Brilliant. Oh, that sounds, for £10 a month, that sounds like a really good support line for people who are worried about how this situation is impacting their diet. So that's fantastic, Sam. Thank you. And obviously your contact details are on your website if anyone's got any questions at all. So that's whatseatingyou.co.uk.
Yes.
And you live very locally, you're in Lambourne, so if people want any further help from you, when this is all over, you're very close by.
Yeah, and if they need me now, I'm available on Skype, Zoom, FaceTime, and just a phone call.
Okay, lovely. Super. Thank you so much, Sam. And actually, you mentioned earlier you've got this amazing recipe for brownies with sweet potatoes.
Sweet potato brownies, yeah.
I've
Do
got
you want me
to
to quickly tell you now, or just put it up on my website?
a bit of both. Just
Okay. It's just 4 ingredients: sweet potato, raw cocoa powder, literally a spoon of maple syrup or agave nectar, and a little bit of nut butter. And all of those are mixed together and baked in the oven for about 30 minutes.
gosh, that sounds really easy.
Yeah, so easy.
And nice, and it looks like a brownie and tastes like
It
a
looks
brownie.
like a brownie, it tastes like a brownie, and much healthier in so many ways, and much less sugar. So yeah, it's people love it.
I'm a sucker for brownies, but you go. But I love sweet potatoes too. So and sweet potatoes are really easy to find these days in the
I
supermarket.
know, yeah, and they're not too expensive either, so that's really great.
Lovely. Thanks so much, Sam. I'm going to try that recipe soon. Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome.
Bye.
Bye.